Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today. And this one, you may have guessed, is a long primer review. This one, however, is going to be different from the Oxford long primers that I've already reviewed. This is a Concordia long primer. So it's going to be slightly different from the Oxfords. Not like a tremendous amount different, but again, how different can things get in vintage Bibles? We're ideal in tiny changes, right? Tiny differences between these editions. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll take a look. Now this one is a black genuine calf skin, and man, it is outstanding. I love this leather. We can see here that Susan Durst is imprinted in 1969. Look at that, awesome year. It's imprinted there in the cover, and thank you, Susan Durst, wherever you may be, for your contribution to the channel. But we can see this amazing grain, and if we kind of bend it a little bit, you can see how it kind of picks up some of that veininess. So that wonderful, just one of that wonderful grain pattern, natural grain pattern. And then we have a little perimeter liner on the edge. Now here's the thing that makes the Concordia different from the Oxfords. Look how chunky this thing is. This is a thick Bible. So we have Holy Bible imprinted on the back, and then red letter and Concordia at the bottom. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 burnished spine ribs. They're not really raised. They're kind of pressed down a little bit, but they are nice and shiny. And I love it when manufacturers do that, because it's such a nice contrast between the shiny burnished leather versus the kind of the matte finished regular leather there. The perimeter line does continue around the edge to the back. We have that wonderful grain continued. This is a very tactile, very grippy leather. I mean, man, this is great for holding on to. I mean, I feel very secure holding this. It doesn't feel like it's going to slide on my hands or anything like that. Now, as far as the rest goes, we have kind of some yellowed head and tail bands. And then we have a wonderful gold gilt. You can see this one has been fairly well worn. You can see all the kind of fingerprints and scuff marks there on the gilding. But that's okay. I love seeing people's Bibles being used. Much better than the opposite, right? The book block is ever so slightly concave there, just a little bit, kind of flat in the middle, and it's actually kind of poking out, if you can notice. And that comes from use. It doesn't matter if the book block was concave. At some point, it'll start poking out in the middle anyway, just through use. Obviously, the concave book block mitigates a little bit of that, but it won't totally prevent it. We do have one black fabric ribbon, and this is just the thinnest, saddest black ribbon ever. It's not the most horrible thing, but you can see it's getting almost threadbare. I don't know if it's kind of shining through there, but it's getting a little threadbare there. And then your white tailband on the bottom. Now we'll go ahead and open it up. Take a look at the inside corner work. It's nicely pressed, very clean. You almost can't see any kind of folds or anything. It is stamped there, genuine calf, and it is a synthetic paste down. It's very durable. It almost feels like a heavily textured version of what Cambridge uses nowadays. It feels like just a very thick material. On the back, we don't have anything stamped. We do have some nice corner work in the back as well, but just nice and plain in the back. Go ahead and get it down, and we'll get into it. We have a little bit of foxing there on the page, and then some kind of waxy pages here in the beginning. Several of them, but they do have kind of that waxy finish. So if you were going to write on these pages, you would not want to use a wet ink. You'd want to use more like a drier ink or an archival ink. Best thing to use. A blank presentation page there. We have our title page. We'll take a look. It's a red letter edition, obviously. And we do have long primer stamped at the bottom, and again, it's 8VO, which is the octavo size, indicating it's a full size, close to a 6x9 size Bible. And it does have references. Now this one, however, is not stamped with India paper, so it does not use India paper, which I can appreciate, because that means it'll be slightly easier, hopefully, for me to turn. We'll go ahead and take a look at the back of the title page there for some printer's information. We have our epistle dedicatory, standard fare. A lot of this is going to be very repetitive, I guess, or familiar, for those of you that have watched the long primer videos. Yeah, because it uses all the same kind of features and that sort of thing. Signs and abbreviations used in the references, and we have our first book of Moses called Genesis. So this paper, I don't know, this paper has a weird texture. It's kind of smooth, and it almost has that waxy feel to it. So again, if you were going to write in this, I'd be very careful what implements you choose to write in it, and certainly maybe go all the way in the very back and do a test page before you start, underlining or highlighting in the Google text. Although I don't know how many of you are going to pick up a vintage Concordia to mark in. I don't know. Maybe it might. Maybe it's your thing. I don't know. I wouldn't, but that's just me. All right. So again, we have the same layout. You can see that there's the running headers in the top gutter. You also have the book and chapter indicators there in the top outer corners, our page numbers in the top or in the bottom corners there. We have a double column paragraph, double column verse by verse layout, and they are using Pilgrim markers here to indicate the paragraphs. And I'll let you guys see the references there, center column references, just more of the standard fare for the long primer layout. You do have a double line drop cap, and then your chapter indicator there. So we'll go ahead and kind of chunk through it, because again, this is more of the same, but man, this is an outstanding edition. I know it was very well used, very well read, but whoever read it took very good care of it. Aside from, the fingernail scrapes on the gilting, but it happens. So one thing to note here is this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful page edge die that they did. And it's a wonderful job, very nice and deep red. But I love this effect, if you guys can see it. So notice here, this is called stair stepping. So this is where you get just ever so slightly a little break between the signatures. And this is how you can tell there's signatures, because you can see how there's these groupings of pages together. But you get a little bit of separation there, and you end up getting almost like a striped pattern to the page edge gilt. And I love that when they look like that. Sometimes they're very pronounced. I can try and mimic it a little bit. But I have a couple Bibles where it's very pronounced, and I very much like that. I know some people don't like it. They like just having a smooth red kind of coloration there. But, I like the stair stepping. I think it looks cool. It looks cool, guys. It's a cool Bible. Such a Bible nerd. Let's go ahead and get to Psalms 119. It's not going to be anything different, but, at the very least, it'll be consistent for consistency's sake. And the Hebrew characters there indicated. We'll take a look at this paper. Now, again, this is not India paper, but it does a very good job of mitigating show through. I mean, you can see a little bit there, right? And, I will grab the other long primer to compare thickness to it. This is certainly thicker than that one. I'm curious, though, about the helps and that sort of thing at the end. But I can just tell, even from being here in Psalms, that we're here in Psalms, and that's probably about as thick as the Oxford long primer and India paper. So that would be the benefit to having India paper. You get that nice thin Bible. However, for me, India paper is kind of hard to turn, and this paper is much easier to turn. So I prefer this nice thicker paper, easier to turn page. Let's go ahead and get to the New Testament title page. Here we go. We have the end of Malachi in the New Testament title page. Turn one page over. See how easy that was to turn? Super easy. And then we have the first page of Matthew. Go a few pages in and we'll see that red letter text. Now, again, not everybody's going to be perfect on the red letter. This is an example of it. So this red letter is pink. Albeit it's kind of a darker pink, but I would give this one, oh goodness, maybe like a 4 or a 5, maybe like just barely scraping into a 5 as far as red letters are concerned, but it is fairly pinkish. And the pink is also kind of turning the page a little bit pink. Again, either from show through or just because of the fact that it's flooded with so much red in one area. Not a horrible pink, I won't say that. Not a horrible red, but not the best that's out there by any means. It would be nice if they would have used, and I wonder if it is the same red. It might just appear different, being on the page. See, but then here, look how deep this red looks. That's a nice deep red. So, I don't know. It might just be their printer on that day. Let's go ahead and get to the end of Revelation. See if there's red letter there. So, yep, they do have red letter continuing through the end of Revelation. Then you have your Concordia Bible Dictionary. Concordia is one of those companies that was known for having excellent Bible dictionaries and excellent helps. So we'll kind of flip through it. And this is dated 1963. Here's your preface to the Bible Dictionary. Then abbreviations and symbols used in the Bible Dictionary. Transliteration of Hebrew, key to pronunciation. I feel like didn't miss a page. I'm good. Then A. There you go. Some entries for you guys to take a look at. And we'll keep tabs and see how large this concordance is. Oop, I went a little too far. It's just a Z. There we go. So this was I called it a concordance. It wasn't a concordance. What is this again? Bible Dictionary, right? So the Bible Dictionary. The Bible dictionary is 146 pages, so it's a fairly chunky Bible dictionary there. Then we get into the concordance. Actually, let me show you a page of the concordance. Here you go, nice little example. And we'll flip to the end. So there's the end of the concordance, and it's 164 pages for the concordance. So very nice size concordance there. We have our little printer's note. It's funny how they feel the need to like tell you where every single section was printed. I wonder if they were all printed like separately and then brought together, or if they were just printed at the same facility. They just felt the need to tell you each section where it was printed. Then we have our new Oxford Bible maps. With a little code down there. It says NOBM 3ARX. Whatever that means. And then maps and index printed in Great Britain by Cook, Hammond, and Kell Limited in London. And here's the index to the maps. With a neat little kind of call there. I like that, and that helps you remember where you are. Concordance or dictionary, right? So the map has quite a few locations there. The maps. And there's map 1. Oh, nicely printed maps. Look at this. This is definitely a step up from the Oxford that we looked at previously. Much nicer maps. These almost remind me of like Schuyler's maps that they use nowadays. Isn't that crazy to think that the maps were being produced to look like this back in the day? Why did they all use maps like this back in the day? Some of the maps out there were horrible. And these are really just beautiful. Really well done. Really well done maps, goodness. Again, this might be why Concordia had the leg up on so many other brands. And we have our last map, and then our little info stamps there. It's 56512, and then number 1-1267. So maybe it's printed in 1967, December. I've got no clue. There's dates all over the place with this thing. Several blank sheets there and just our end sheet. So a very nicely done Concordia Bible. Man, this is a nice edition. This is a very nice edition. Man, well done indeed. Kudos, Concordia. Let's go ahead and get you guys some measurements. So it comes in at 9 1/4 inches tall. And again, it's probably going to be very similar to the previous long primer, except for thickness. And we have 6 1/4 inches wide, just shy of that. As far as thickness goes, we have about 1 inch and almost like 1 3/4 thick. Go ahead and look at the text, and hopefully it'll be 11 point also, like the last one. We'll look at the N and now 11 point, the same, and the M and him. Yeah, 11 point. So 11 point versus Times New Roman. I'm glad to see that they didn't kind of resize the biblical text, or at least make it smaller. I don't mind bigger, but making it smaller is kind of eh. So yeah, an 11 point text versus Times New Roman. Wonderful helps and aids in the back of this edition. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to look at. Let's take a look at the added words. I think Concordia does not preserve it. Yeah, so there you have in Genesis 1 verse 2, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. So the word was, would be, or is added for clarity's sake, but they did not italicize it. So in this edition, the added words are not italicized. So you would just have to, I guess, be aware of maybe pull a different edition to figure out what was added. But in this instance, it does not show it. Let me get to the other Oxford to compare it to size-wise. Here's the one I just reviewed. Go ahead and turn them on their sides. That's where we're going to see the biggest difference. So there's the Concordia on the bottom, almost twice as thick. So for me personally, I would prefer the Concordia. The Concordia is now on top. I would prefer the Concordia because I like thicker paper. India paper, I love the opacity of it, but sometimes that super thin paper is very hard and fussy for me to deal with. Yeah, the thicker paper of the Concordia would be my choice. Not to mention, I don't mind carrying thicker Bibles. Again, I'm a bigger dude, so it doesn't bother me none. Bible buddies, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, Bible buddies, until next time, bye.